What perfectionism does, and specifically people like this, it forces you into a box. It makes you scared of trying out new things. It makes you scared of making mistakes. And I've talked about this so many times, the only way we learn is by making mistakes. You need to try things out. Welcome. Stick around if you want to learn about the art and philosophy of beautiful movement mixed with evidence-based exercise science. We will be having tough and inspiring conversations with other coaches, experts, artists, and athletes. Our goal is to challenge myths, explore concepts, and engage in healthy debate as we dive deep with intrigue and curiosity. I'm your host, Hannah Deutscher. I've been teaching dance, Pilates, and yoga for over 2 decades. And what I've learned is that movement can be the joy that integrates us all together. When we can trust and express ourselves through our bodies, we are unlimited in our ability to change ourselves and our communities for the better. We, as movement teachers and coaches, have the power to help people experience this for themselves. Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Exchanging ideas and changing people's lives one session at a time. This is the Pilates Exchange. Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Pilates Exchange. I'm Hannah, and today we're unpacking a topic that lives rent-free in the minds of so many great teachers. Perfectionism, okay? Whether you're a brand new instructor or you've been teaching for decades, there's often this feeling that we're not doing enough, that we should be more prepared, more creative, more put together, more, whatever that looks like. So in today's episode, it's going to be your permission slip to let go of that pressure and embrace what's actually enough, because perfect teaching doesn't exist, but powerful teaching absolutely does. And so we're going to go into some of the details of what does that mean. This is the follow-up episode of a last episode talking about burnout, okay? A lot of the times, those two things go hand in hand. So we're going to start by calling it out of this unspoken pressure that's in our industry to be perfect. I actually believe that it is so baked into our industry. It even starts with our teacher trainings. There are some teacher trainings in there. Now, I want a very high standard, but perfect is something different. So it looks like in the teacher trainings that if you can't do an advanced exercise, you're not going to pass your test, which is total BS. Just because you can't do some crazy exercise doesn't mean you can't teach it. Okay, so there's ableism in there, a whole lot of things. But there's a belief that we need to always deliver flawless, creative, fully fresh classes all the time, to know every muscle, every cue, every adaptation off the top of your heads, to never stumble, never forget a cue, or gasp if we admit that we don't know something, right? That's all not correct. Okay? Perfectionism, knowing all those things doesn't make you a better teacher. It makes you less present. It makes us anxious, rigid, and more focused on maybe the performance of it than our people. And we've talked about this a little bit before. I do believe that there's a performance aspect to teaching, but not one that you mask behind this idea of perfection, okay? So the truth is that clients, your students, they don't want perfection. They want connection with you. They want connection with you. They want connection with themselves and their bodies. And they want maybe connection with their class in general and with the other people that are training with them, making that community. So I want you to remember what people are really taking away from these classes so we can reduce that stress level. What they really want is that they are seen, right? They feel respected, that their body feels better after the class, right? That they were guided by someone who cares and created a safe place for them to experience success, but also to experience hard things, right? No one walks out saying, oh, she forgot to cue the breath and teaser, right? Like they walk out thinking, I feel stronger today, or that helped my back pain. They feel good that they've accomplished something. And that is the real magic in the teaching. So let's stop judging ourselves by impossible standards and remember what really, truly makes a difference here. I was having a conversation with a very good friend of mine about perfectionism. And she said, well, I'm not a perfectionist because there's nothing that I do is perfect. I was like, oh yeah? Maybe that's exactly what it is. Like having such high standards that there's just really unachievable, right? You can be teaching at a fantastic, masterful level and still have room to grow. We're always growing, you know? And perfectionism it steals from us. It makes us feel like we can never take a break, right? Because there's always something more to learn. There's always another adaptation that we need, or a new, now we have to learn about, let's say, fascial release techniques, or this stretching thing, or this and this and this. It forces us to continue and continue and continue. And it makes you feel like you can't take a pause from all that. Perfectionism convinces us that we're not good enough unless we're completely drained, because there's always more to do. Perfectionism keeps us from trying new things because you're afraid of messing up. It tells us that we can't be seen on maybe social media until everything is flawless. And there's been recently, I'm not going to name the social media account, but some self-appointed jackass decides that he's going to go around and comment on how other teachers are teaching their classes and give them corrections, which is total bullshit. Excuse me, like back the fuck down, because that is ridiculous. There is no perfect teaching. There is no perfect practice, and you should never give someone else the power over that. And it's that someone else is out. It makes me so angry. I can't even tell you. So because of stuff like that, there's no perfection that's in there. It's just not possible. I'd like to see this person out there putting stuff out there rather than stealing other people's content and commenting on it, right? We need to get over that. We're going to shut down those trolls, because what perfectionism does, and specifically people like this, it forces you into a box. It makes you scared of trying out new things. It makes you scared of making mistakes. And I've talked about this so many times, the only way we learn is by making mistakes. You need to try things out. You can't grow when you're trying to stay perfect. Growth requires these mistakes. It requires flexibility. It requires reflection, and it requires grace with ourselves. Okay. The same amount of grace that you would give your students or your clients if they try something out and it doesn't work the first time. Well, yeah, then that's what the training is there for, right? It's training. It's not an end product. You're working on it. And that's the same thing that we need to extend with our teaching. You will be learning about teaching the entire length of your career. If you're a great teacher, and that's what you aim to be, you're going to constantly be on this path of learning new things, of updating, of maybe having to adapt. Like maybe you learned something new, and the way that you've been doing it before has now been proved like by either emerging science or whatever. Maybe there's a better way of doing things, and you're going to have to adapt what you're doing. That's not wrong. That is what true growth looks like. But if we're in a fixed mindset, everything has to be perfect, we're not going to allow ourselves that freedom, right? And with that freedom comes less stress. When I started teaching, I felt underprepared and overwhelmed. I needed to learn how to plan my training so that it made sense, but I wasn't sure what was working and what wasn't. So many teacher training programs leave out the actual art and business of teaching. This is why we created Train the Trainers. Train the Trainers is designed to give you the tools you need to create a powerful learning environment for your students. Gain access to the vault of our collected knowledge where you can learn everything we have to teach you, whether you are a freelance teacher or a studio owner. Get constructive feedback on your teaching with actionable tools you can apply immediately. We can't wait to be part of your teaching journey and to help you grow in your business. Welcome to Train the Trainers. So I would like you to start moving from maybe performance of the perfect class to presence. We want to emphasize progress over polish. So you could plan, every single class, like from every name of every exercise and every cue that you're going to have. And it might mean that when you're teaching the class, then you're no longer present for your people because you're just delivering a monologue of the things. That won't be great teaching. But if you plan, let's just make a number, you plan 80% of your class and you leave 20% just for the room for things to happen, because that's the real magic there, right? You're going to see something and you're going to see an opportunity to go with the flow. You might even get into a class, you had a beautiful class planned and realize that it's not going to work for that group. So the real mastery in there is the adaptability of what you do in the moment. And you know what's funny is that flaws make you human. So you're in a class and you forget something, laugh about it. You messed up a transition. Yeah, so what, right? The more the clients relate to you, the more human you are in there, the more your clients are going to relate to you. That's what I wanted to say. That humanizes the entire exchange of what's happening. Because if they wanted a class produced by AI, they could just do that themselves. They're not looking for that. They're looking for the human experience, right? So another way that we can help ourselves is supportive self-talk. So replacing I bombed that class with, I handled that challenge with creativity. Or that client connection mattered more than the perfect sequence. Or, hey, it didn't work out this time. There's room for improvement next time. Because by taking a deeper look at what we're talking, those thoughts that are happening in our brain, a lot of the times, those of us that are more prone to perfectionism, those thought processes, we would never say to another person. We reserve it for ourselves, right? All that hard negative talk, right? So first part is really identifying it. And that's hard. You have to take a step because you have to take a step back because a lot of the times it's so automatic that you don't even realize that it's happening. So a way to do that would be to reflect without spiraling. So maybe some questions after the class, if it wasn't exactly how you wanted, is to say what worked? And then what would I try differently? And then that's it. Then you move on. You don't beat yourself up. You learn from it and you go on. But let's take an even deeper look, because I think a lot of perfectionism stems from a fixed mindset, a belief that you either have it or you don't, right? And, this is something that we have based our Train the Trainers program completely on, of growth mindset as opposed to fixed mindset, because we know that there's so much information out there about teaching, about pedagogy. And if we can learn what to do with it, right? In a growth mindset, we believe that skills can be developed. Great teaching can always be developed. That effort counts more than talent. Talent alone doesn't do anything for you. You got to work on whatever is there to make it great. And failure is part of progress. It's not proof that you're not good enough. It's recognizing, hey, that could do better. What do I need to learn about this situation? What do I need to adapt for the next time? So if you catch yourself thinking, I should know this already, or everyone else is ahead of me, or I can't try that until I'm perfect at it, or I can't teach that until I could do it perfectly myself, or I can't show up on social media until it is Instagram worthy. That's fixed mindset talking. That is a really narrow box of how we're living our lives. So we can change it from I can't do this to I'm working on this, or I can't do this yet. Putting the yet at the end of it because it's a process, right? Change the I messed this up to I learned something today. Change the I'm not ready to I'm still learning, and that's okay. Because your clients don't need perfect. They need present. They need curious. They need real. They need connection, right? And that's going to come from you. I hope this is making sense, because that's really the heart of it. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're not alone. Teaching is not a perfect Hollywood performance here. It is a relationship. And you get to show up as yourself. Messy, magnificent. You get to learn. You get to try it again. And that's what makes you a great teacher. It's not how polished your flow is or how creative your transitions are or whether you nailed every cue that's there. It's about being there, learning, and being present. I hope that this episode hits home. I'd be grateful if you shared it with another teacher who maybe needs to hear it. Last week, I let you know that I have a burnout reflection and recovery guide that's free. It's just for some self-reflection. Grab it in the notes. It's there for you. You know what? You're doing better than you think. If you are listening to this podcast, it tells me that you care deeply about your teaching and you're in exactly the right spot. So keep going, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next episode. Happy teaching, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. A great cost-free way of supporting us and the podcast would be to give us a 5-star rating. You could also look down into the show notes and grab any one of the free resources for teachers. I hope to see you next week on the Pilates Exchange. Happy teaching, everyone.